Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show, where we are covering a lot of news stories, all the wacky and wild headlines that are coming out. We've been watching a lot of video clips, specifically over the last couple days, of the Democrats calling Donald Trump a threat to democracy, a threat to the republic, but telling everybody else they need to change their rhetoric. And then just yesterday, we watched one of the worst interviews, quite frankly, I have ever seen. And that was coming from Kamala Harris, unable to answer any sort of questions, just giving a bunch of word salads, a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But Patriots, great seeing you in the chat. I was trying to type as fast as possible, giving you a few shout outs in there. Always appreciate you guys joining us and selecting my channel to bring you the news first thing in the morning. It does mean a lot to me. Look, there's a lot of podcasters out there. There's a lot of influencers. There's just a lot of people that you can get your news from, and you guys choose this channel. A small channel like ours, it's always greatly appreciated. It does not go unrecognized, let me tell you that much. Now, if you see me fiddling with my hat a little bit, it's because I'm losing weight and my hat doesn't fit my head anymore. So I've lost 20 pounds. Thank you. But I got another 20 to lose. I got up to 213 pounds, folks. That's the biggest I've ever been, 213 pounds, and not big in a good way. And so I'm trying to get down to 180 again. 180. Cut the fat, and then start bulking again. That's the game plan. I gotta get swole like Shib. You guys ever seen Shib? Shib's actually a pretty big dude. Like, you don't mess with Patriots, man, I'll tell you. So let's jump into the wild and wacky news, folks. You're gonna see a lot of variety today, and well, let's be frank, that's why you come here, so you can get the gist of what the hell's going on in this world. Well, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and let me tell you something, folks, whether you like the guy or not, damn. He knows how to run a state. And just what I mean by that is this dude saw at one point about 10,000 illegal immigrants coming into his state every single day. In the height of COVID, he's managing it all. Remember, the states can't print money, and he's not getting any help from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So this guy, with the amount of people he's had to have in terms of invading his state and managing it, not just on a budget level, but on a healthcare level, an education level, like all that stuff is bonkers to me. Compared to Chicago, who only got like 30,000, and I think that was at best. I think at one point it was only 17,000 illegal immigrants, and it completely crashed their infrastructure. We saw the same thing in New York City with Mayor Eric Adams, who was declaring like a state of emergency and begging the federal government to sit there and give them like $1 billion to handle it. Their infrastructure collapsed too. They didn't know what to do. So kudos to this guy for at least doing some sort of management on a problem that he didn't even create. So what we have here is he declares Venezuelan gang terrorists after over 100 suspected members stormed the border. But I was told, Greg, these are all good people. We say it all the time. These are all great people, folks. They're just coming for a better life. No. They're violent gang members. MS-13 has come across the border. You have the Latin Kings over here. You have a lot of big known gangs. And now you have this foreign terrorist organization that was just declared by Governor Greg Abbott. More than 100 members of the gang. And what's this gang known for, folks? Well, they're known for building houses, giving back to the community, making great charitable donations to people, helping our veterans, taking care of the homeless, feeding the needy, clothing those that don't have clothes. Nope, just kidding. They're for violent illegal activities such as murder, smuggling drugs and people, and extortion, according to authorities. But these are the people that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to allow into the country. And I'll go a step further. These are the people that they want to give amnesty to. These are the people they want to allow to vote. These are the people that they want sitting there and replacing American citizens in terms of jobs. This is who Kamala Harris and Joe Biden put forth in this country. And Democrats can't say that's not true. It is true. Because there's people that are waiting in line that actually want to assimilate into this country, that actually want to not commit crimes. They don't want to smuggle drugs. They don't want to smuggle people. They don't want to sell people off into forced labor. They don't want to sit there and commit heinous crimes such as murder and extortion and rape, whatever the hell it is. No, there's people that are in line right now that took the test, paying their hard-earned money, that want to sit here and assimilate to our creeds and our values and our institutions and our Judeo-Christian values or whatever faith they're coming in. They'll sit there and assimilate into with that. No. This is the people that they want, that they're going to put at the front of the line. And by put at the front of the line, I mean they're going to allow them to cheat the system and come here illegally and not do jack bleep about it. So that's who they want. And you know what? Democrats will still vote for it. They say they don't like it, right? Because if you look at the polls, immigration, the economy, like the number 1 and 2 issues in this country? No, it's not. Maybe for Republicans and conservatives it is, but it's a weird thing where you hear Democrats say one thing, but then their actions say a whole nother thing. Now, here's a few updates on that whole pager thing, and I actually have another update. So these updates are crazy. So yesterday we talked about these pagers, right? Bonkers. Like, have you guys ever seen anything like this? Like I said, it was out of like a Universal Studios movie. So there's the 4,000 Hezbollah terrorists and mass pager bombing. Yesterday's headline that we covered was 2,700. And I told you guys, no. I saw reports of like over 4,000 people. So thousands of Hezbollah terrorists were injured on Tuesday. This was reported everywhere. Israel reportedly infiltrated Hezbollah's supply chain and rigged thousands of pagers with this, I don't know if it's a fluid or if it's kind of like a gummy type paste, but a highly explosive material, which was then remotely detonated all at the same time. All these guys were blowing up. You know, they weren't like, their hands were like blowing off, right? They're walking around with like fingers like, oh God, what's happening? Maybe you shouldn't be connected to terrorists. Now, I was curious. Nobody's answered this. I was curious at, God, I mean, just think about like the plan and strategy that went into this. Did anybody get a pager that wasn't a terrorist? That was my worry in all of this. Like, were we blowing off hands and stuff of people that weren't terrorists? So that hasn't come out as of right now. It seems like all these literally went to terrorists, but I find that hard to believe. 4,000, you didn't screw up in a single one? I don't know. We'll see about that. But there's also another update on this. Believe it or not, there is. I know. Folks, they did a second strike. The Israelis did a second strike on thousands of them again. But this time they blew them up with their walkie-talkies. Holy shit. Yo. It's like these guys go, these terrorists are so freaked out. They're so freaked out. They're like, we can't do cell phones no more. Get rid of the cell phones. So they get rid of their cell phones, right? They don't fucking use pagers. Yo, Mohammed, we're going to use pagers. So they sit there and buy these pagers, right? And the Israelis intercept it. And they think they're all safe and sound, right? They're all going to the grocery store, living a good life. Just, this is fine. I'm going to kill people later. But nope. Boom. Just starts detonating them all at the same time. Thousands of them, right? They're all freaked out. They lose their shit. They're like, oh, fuck. How are we going to communicate now? We can't use cell phones. Oh, shit. We can't use pagers. Walkie-talkies? So they buy walkie-talkies, right? Nope. They go, boom. Israel reportedly conducted a second wave of mass precision bombings. This is wild. Against the Iranian-backed Hezbollah terrorist organization on Wednesday, detonating thousands of walkie-talkies. Just can you imagine some dude on the Israeli side saying, everybody come in, listen closely, and just start whispering. You know what I mean? Just start whispering. Hey, can you guys hear me? Put your walkie-talkies up to your ear. Boom! I don't mean to laugh, but damn. So that happened. God, that's some like secret agent. Like I only have seen that in Hollywood. I never thought I'd actually see it in real life. Wow. That's so, you know, walkie-talkies now. Pretty soon they're gonna be like, let's communicate with 2 cups and a string, right? And then the string's gonna be a bunch of just wired C4 and it's just poof. They don't know what to do. We also have, which I kind of like this, and it says a lot about people recognizing the last debate on how much it was a 3v1. ABC moderator David Muir sees ratings crater after one-sided debate. Well, good, because you sat there and showed your true colors. You are not unbiased. You are clearly biased for the Democrats. You sat there and called out Donald Trump 7 times and didn't call out Kamala Harris a single time, even though she pretty much only lied. I mean, there was maybe a couple truths in there, but those truths were ultimately overshadowed by the lies in the same exact sentence that she told the truth. So that's a 12% drop in viewership from the 7.6 million viewers Muir averaged prior to the debate this year. The dude lost at least 12% of his viewership from his terrible debate performance as the moderator. So we all have seen who this guy is, but during that debate, which is likely to be the only matchup between the 2024 nominees, Muir and co-moderator Lindsay Davis were roundly criticized for throwing in with Harris, which we knew that they were going to do, right? I mean, I expected them to at least push back on her once to make it not seem as obvious. So that one did catch me off guard. But in terms of how they acted, along with Kamala Harris and the way she performed, that was not a shocker to me. As I've always mentioned, Donald Trump's performance is what kind of surprised me a little bit because I wasn't impressed with his performance. But, you know, some people were, some people weren't. But I just want to give you a heads up that his viewers dropped, and rightfully so. Also, you have Whoopi Goldberg from The View coming out, and she's saying here, talking about, make sure I get this up for you guys queued up. She rages on about former President Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, on Tuesday. Folks, after they dared to suggest that violent rhetoric from the left could be inspired a second attempt on Donald Trump's life. Folks, as we covered, right? We covered this on Monday. They're saying it's the rhetoric of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance that's leading to these assassination attempts. There's no personal responsibility on the Democrat Party side on them using threat that we saw for an hour-long episode, and we could have done 2-3 hours of it. So here she is.
The left needs to tone down the rhetoric and needs to cut this crap out.
Correct.
The audience is appalled.
Literally, jaws were dropping in our audience.
JD, clearly you've not been to one of your boss's rallies because you believe this insanity. I mean, he has been inciting violence since 2016, telling them to beat up hecklers, threaten to shoot looters and migrants. They have, I don't remember Bill Clinton.
See how they take all this stuff out of context? Like, if somebody's sitting there robbing you or committing some sort of crime against you and you're still carrying, you feel like your life's at risk, you have a right to defend yourself. Those illegal immigrants that he's referring to are those that are like violent gang members, right? Those people that are selling drugs and killing Americans, by the way, doing that. Sending children off into forced labor, smuggling them, selling them into sex trafficking.
Clinton about what was going on in his White House when it was sprayed by 29 shots. I don't remember Obama blaming opponents when his White House was shot up in 2011. You have to really take a look in a mirror to see the reflection.
Now, spinning wheel of death comes in perfectly for me because I was going to pause it there anyways, really quick. Again, it's astonishing. She talks about a look in the mirror. Folks, they called Ron DeSantis Death Santis. They've done nothing on The View other than calling Donald Trump a threat to democracy. They are a part of the problem. And she's going to tell us, again, there's always taking whatever they do and passing the blame onto Republicans or you and I for their very actions. Case in point, they sit there and allow an invasion to happen at the border. It's Donald Trump's fault. It's Republicans' fault. They wouldn't sit there and put forth the bill, even though you have an executive authority that you could do to sit there and seize up the border and make sure you have that inflow that's coming in of illegal immigrants done correctly. Same thing with inflation, right? It's Donald Trump's fault. The Biden-Harris administration allegedly inherited the worst economy that they've ever existed, except inflation was 1.9%. They don't want to talk about that. The foreign policy, Donald Trump left us terrible policy. Donald Trump is a threat to this country. It's never ending.
Election. One of the reasons that everybody has survived is because the Secret Service has been doing their job.
What? Lady, hey, Whoopi, the guy was in the bushes for 12 hours, you idiot. They weren't doing their job. And then the Secret Service director, now I'm pissed. The Secret Service director comes out and goes, well, thank God for our advancement team to sit there and look in the bushes and catch the guy. Sure. But for you to say, we don't have the money and the resources to give Donald Trump the ultimate protection, which is what they're saying, by the way. You're telling me you're on a fucking golf course and you couldn't go, hey, Mr. President, who owns it? Can we maybe borrow a few golf carts and do a trip around the property really quick just to kind of make sure that there's nobody peeking a fucking gun through the fence to kill you? Like, what resources do you need? Hey, Mr. President, we're going to go ahead and just hold off about 30 minutes so we can get about 3 or 4 agents going in different directions just to go ahead and secure the perimeter really quick and make sure there's nobody hiding in a bush that the paparazzi's been using for a decade to sit there and take pictures of you. We're just going to go ahead and just use one of your golf carts. You cool with that? It's electric. Oh, cool. Don't tell me they're doing their job, Whoopi. You had so many faults in that Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt where Donald Trump got shot in the head. That's not them doing their job. There's so many faults that I think it was done on purpose. There's no way in hell. I don't care. No. There's no way in hell that 20-year-old got on that roof with some sort of foozery or fuckery going on. I don't care what anybody tells me. You don't make that many mistakes without somebody doing something on purpose. And guess what? Nobody got fired. Still, nobody's been fired. Everybody other than Kim Cheadle, the former director of the Secret Service that resigned, wasn't even fired. And I think by her resigning, she still gets pension, by the way. Everybody got promoted after that. Yes. People got promoted.
Let's start with that. That's, so quit blaming folks until you decide to take a look at what's coming out of your mouth. You didn't want to tell people that it was a lie that you've been talking about when you're sending people to go against folks in the community.
Yeah. She can't get out of her mouth. Do you think her hair's wound up too tight that it's just really pulling back so hard that she can't think correctly?
Ohio, you know it's a lie.
You know it's a lie. No, I mean, even me that does this every single day, I'm not so sure if it's a lie or not still. I'm just saying, hey, I'm going to refrain from talking about the Haitians eating pets because I'm waiting for more evidence, right? I thought I did my due diligence of looking at video after video after video after video after video after video after video, reading news article after news article after news article, going on X and reading this post, that post, this post from pretty credible people going, okay, I think I could bring it to the Patriots and talk about it. Clearly not. So I'm going to hold off and wait for more evidence before I bring up the Haitians and the pets again. Now, this is the guy that I was talking about a while ago. This was on Monday's episode that I was talking about this individual that referred back in the day to throwing the Constitution in the trash. And I was like, it's an African American or a black dude. I don't know if he's actually African American. And well, he has this big fro and stuff like that. I couldn't remember. Well, lo and behold, here he is. CNN pundit, who is Scott Jennings, who we'll see in just one moment because we love Scott. He's like the only guy on that entire outlet that actually speaks truth. Torches panelists over 2000 election denialism. Remind me of the rules. So, oh boy, here we go.
If Harris is lucky enough to win the Electoral College by only one state, John Roberts and his Supreme Court will find a way to flip that state back into Trump and give Trump the victory. It will be a redo of 2000.
Time around, Scott.
I mean, for the record, Bush won Florida.
I would love to roll that recap back then.
I don't think so. Please.
My God.
We should have
conspiracy theory night here at the Andy
have
Phillips Show. Okay, all right. I was reading in The Hill today and had an interesting headline about Democratic lawmakers saying that they fully expected Kamala Harris's pivot to the center to be nothing but political rhetoric that she'll govern like a liberal when she actually becomes president. Here's the quote. I'm from Massachusetts. She's from California. On climate, abortion, LGBTQ issues, we are absolutely in agreement. That's why Elizabeth Warren and I are so passionately campaigning for her, Ed Markey. So the next time a Republican tells you got to vote for Harris to save the conservative movement, show them this article and say, I don't think so.
If Harris is...
People are idiots. And good for Scott. It's funny that it's just funny that they sat there, right? And they're talking about how Donald Trump's going to sit there and steal the election. All the while, they're talking about how the 2000 election was stolen. Well, Democrats never sit there and say elections are stolen. They never said that before, really. That whole thing with Florida. Wasn't it, I'm trying to reach back. Wasn't it George W. Bush and Al Gore or something like that? Well, yeah, you also had the 2016 election with Hillary Clinton. I mean, she wrote an entire book about it, by the way, on how she still doesn't know who to blame other than herself. She sat there and has made every excuse in the book, basically quite literally, because she wrote a book about it. But she has never blamed herself still to this day. Now, what's also funny is CBS correspondent is baffles, in other words, co-host when Nevada trips net one Kamala supporter per stop. Oh, she's not getting anybody. She's doing all these rounds, and well, it's not really paying dividends for her.
Like that.
So much fun. But what was really incredible is in every single restaurant of the people willing to talk to us, we could only find one Harris supporter in every restaurant. And we left no stone unturned. I approached every single person we had.
Now listen to this, you guys. The reason why I'm bringing this up is not to make fun of Kamala Harris. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because look around. I'm seeing the makings of 2020 all over again. How many times have we shown clips from CBS, NBC, MSNBC of these reporters when they're actually putting their asses on the ground in certain locations where Kamala Harris is at, and they go, we've seen clips where they go, yeah, we talked to like 12, 15 people, not a single one, all independent voters, not a single one is voting for Kamala Harris. This is the first clip I've seen in a while where these reporters go, yeah, we talked to one. We talked to one that's going to vote for Kamala Harris. I bring this up because we're only like a month and a half out from the election, right? Where are all the Kamala Harris parades? Where are all the Kamala Harris boat parades? Where is it when she's driving in her motorcade with Tim Walz, the psycho? Where are all the people lining the streets with the Kamala Harris flags? Where is the movement? There is none. So you're going to tell me in the state, because this is such a repeat of Joe Biden, is it not? Is it not a repeat of Joe Biden? I mean this in all literal sense. He could not fill a parking lot, you guys. A parking lot. They had people, remember how they had people drive up during COVID in their cars and they're wearing masks in their cars because they're idiots and they're in there by themselves and they were honking their horns whenever he said something. Oh, yay. He couldn't fill a parking lot. He can't fill a stadium. Neither can Kamala Harris. There was a stadium of like 4,000 or 5,000 people. And what they did, allegedly, take this with a grain of salt. I was reading this morning while I'm like half asleep drinking coffee, swiping. The Rumbles coffee, by the way, if you guys aren't drinking that, what are you doing? The 1775. So I'm sipping on the couch. This is like 4:30 in the morning today, 4:45. And I see this thing on X. I wish I included it here. I'm swiping through and I see this thing on X and it says through the GPS of people's cell phones, get this, of the 4,000 attendees, I think it was 2,700 of those were all from a town in Georgia, like a specific area in Georgia, meaning they're busing these people in. And then there was 700 cell phones where the GPS came from a different part of Georgia, but all the same area. So basically, the vast majority of her crowd was bullshit. I'm sorry. I know we got people listening that have kids and they're in the car. I apologize. Kids, don't cuss. But it's the best word. It's all fictitious. It's all fake. None of it is real. It's all scripted, just like Joe Biden's presidency. Somebody's pulling the strings here. There's some elite group, I'm telling you there has to be, it doesn't make sense to me, that's pulling the strings of the deep state, and they puppet up, not just Joe Biden, but Kamala Harris. It doesn't make sense to me. So use everything you're seeing right now, because there's going to be some foozery going on once again. Folks, they've tried to kill the guy twice. I know I'm getting frustrated, but I'm just so tired of people going, no, Donald Trump's going to win. They're fucking trying to kill the guy. Twice. The plots are at least 6. Folks, they just found a bomb at his rally yesterday after I just got done doing my show. Telling you about a 3rd assassination plot. I don't know, and I really do, hand to God, you guys, I realized thinking about this again this morning, it really messed me up, man. There was a poll on X that was saying, do you think Donald Trump's going to survive the next 4 years? We used to joke about Joe Biden, not somebody doing an assassination attempt on him. Nobody wants that as far as I'm aware, and if you do, you're a psycho. We just figured because his mental decline and his health condition, I mean, he can't get his legs into the beast, the motorcade. The Secret Service has to help pick up his legs and put him in. We've just figured, hey, because of his health, like he's going to go downhill. Donald Trump, I don't know, you guys, if he's going to survive his presidency. We're averaging less than a month on either a plot or an assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. It's about every 21 or 27 days or something like that. It's only getting worse. The Secret Service is not giving him full protection. He's not getting full presidential detail. They want him dead. At this point, they want him dead. The Democrats don't care. They're not going to change their rhetoric. They'll pretend like they care. Folks, did you see that stat about like 28% of Americans think Donald Trump's a threat and that his life should be terminated? Did you all see that post yesterday? I'll find it for you and I'll post it on X. Follow me on Twitter if you're not, and I'll try to make sure I do that. There's going to be some foozery, folks. They're going to cheat. They're going to allow illegals to vote. They're not cleaning up their voter registration rules still in Nevada, Michigan, Pennsylvania. They're not doing it there. The problem is, just by the way, the problem is not having Republican voters. It's having Republican voters getting out and actually voting. That's the problem. If you have a friend that's a Republican, start talking to them now and saying, hey, you getting out there to the polls? I want to see pictures with the I voted badge everywhere. Now, speaking of voting, right here, Speaker presses on with funding stopgap linked to non-citizen voting crackdown. So we'll have some updates with this as well. But as part of the bid to dodge a government shutdown next month, the GOP-led House is expected to vote Wednesday, which was yesterday, on a short-term spending measure. It failed, by the way, combined with reforms meant to help prevent non-citizens from voting in federal elections. So Speaker Mike Johnson announced on Tuesday the lower chamber would proceed with a 6-month continuing resolution plus the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, setting up a clash with Senate Majority Chuck Schumer and the White House if the House has managed to pass the proposal in the first place. It did not pass. So, quote, Congress has an immediate obligation to do two things: responsibly fund the federal government, which, remember, we heard from Karine Jean-Pierre, it's the job of the government. It's the most basic thing that Congress does, is sitting there and pushing forth the spending. So let's see how her tone and tune changes on this one. Let's see. Because I spent years listening to that lady ramble about this very thing. It's their basic form. They need to pass it and ensure the security of our elections. This should be a shoo-in, right? A shoo-in, because it's their job to make sure that certain laws are executed in terms of the executive branch. And by the way, folks, it already is illegal for an illegal immigrant to vote if you're not a citizen. It's already illegal. But what this does, it basically forces the hand of those in the area to make sure they actually check that this person's actually a U.S. citizen. So again, this would require that individuals show proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote in elections. Democrats, for some odd reason, I don't know why, think that you still have to show proof. Like, they think when you actually register to vote that you have to show proof of citizenship. You want to know why they think that? Because the media tells them. Their liberal friends who don't want to do research tell them this. Why don't you just go get a voter registration form yourself and look at it? Maybe do a little bit of reading yourself. Maybe go look at Arizona's, Texas. Why don't you just go look at it yourself rather than sitting there and watching CNN or The View and getting indoctrinated and brainwashed constantly? It's head spinning. Now, am I saying that this is a massive problem that could change the election? No, because I don't have any evidence of that. But my BS meter is going off. And when my BS meter, Jeff knows, as accountants and auditing specifically, we have this phrase. I don't know if he uses it, but I use it a lot. If it smells like shit, it usually is shit. It's an accounting term. Now, they used to use it back when it was the Big Eight with Arthur Anderson back in the day and all those other things. I don't know if they still use it. Now, again, this is what we talked about yesterday. I just want to kind of bring this up to you again because I mentioned Donald Trump's life is at stake. Pakistani national pleads not guilty. We talked about that yesterday. I asked all of you, did you know there was another plot, another assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life? Now, I admitted that I led you on a little bit because in theory, right, was it an assassination attempt where a guy's pointing a barrel? No. But it was still an attempt, right? Because the guy was attempting to hire somebody with allegedly Iranian money to kill Donald Trump. So I wasn't that far off. I kind of twisted it slightly, but it was an assassination attempt. And again, just yesterday, there was another one. Yes, a bomb was found at a Trump rally. Yep. Nothing to see here, folks. It's all our fault. It's all our rhetoric. Yep. Now, the left owns political violence, by the way. I love this. I love this by Michael Knowles because he calls out the left, just as we did on Monday, just as all Republicans and conservatives are doing. But here's Michael Knowles doing the Lord's work, which, by the way, Michael has seen our footage, folks. Not only has he seen our footage, I've sat there and been tagged about 3 or 4 times on Michael Knowles' X page. So I want to give a shout out to the Daily Wire and Michael Knowles for posting some of our content every now and then. I did a review for his cigars. He posted it, gave us a little bit of bump. Greatly appreciated. Here we go.
These campus lectures are a prime example of left-wing political violence. When students invite a conservative public figure to speak on campus, university officials regularly disinvite us, citing vague safety concerns. And who is threatening anyone's safety? It isn't the conservative speakers. It isn't the conservative students. It is the leftists. The administrators have a point when they cite those safety concerns, because the leftists on campus are frequently violent. In 2017, leftist students sent a female professor to the hospital with a concussion because she had the audacity to share the stage with a respected, albeit right-wing, social scientist, Charles Murray. Last year, leftists at San Francisco State physically assaulted Riley Gaines for saying that men and women are different. Riley was secured in a safe room before the mob was dispersed so they wouldn't attack her more than they already had. I myself was attacked at the University of Missouri, Kansas City back in 2019. Just last year, leftists at the University of Pittsburgh lit a street on fire, burned me in effigy, and threw an explosive at a building as I walked on stage. Political violence is a left-wing phenomenon in America. It is encouraged and carried out by leftists, some of whom have been bailed out of jail by the current Democrat nominee for president, Kamala Harris, whose despicable rhetoric continues to justify violence against President Trump and other conservatives.
So we talk all about that in terms of the left attacking conservative Republicans at the speaking engagements. And I appreciate Jeff in the chat. This is why we keep the Patriots. And folks, this is why I do read the chat when I bring up an article. I guess there was an update yesterday regarding that explosive found near rally at Donald Trump's speaking engagement. Let's bring up the news then. Appreciate you, Jeff. Police in Long Island say rumors of explosives found near Trump rally are false. So let's break this down. You guys are going to have real-time updates. Law enforcement officials on Long Island worked quickly on Wednesday to publicly knock down social media posts falsely reporting that explosives had been found in a car near former President Donald Trump's planned rally in New York just yesterday. Now, I'm going to listen to Dan Bongino's show later because this is where I got the initial report from while I was at work later in the day. So I want to see if he updates it himself because he talks to Secret Service agents with boots on the ground. The false reports of an explosive began circulating hours before the Republican presidential nominee's campaign event, just days after he was apparently the target of a second, apparently. See how they do that? This is PBS, by the way. Apparently. Give me a break. It says here, let's bring this over for y'all. The police commissioner said police questioned and detained a person who may have been training a bomb detection dog near the site of the rally and falsely reported explosives being found. So were there explosives, whether there was a training or not? Or is this just a cover-up? Spokesperson for the county police said in a follow-up message that the person who police have not yet identified was a civilian and not a member of a law enforcement agency. Okay. He also said the person was not working at or affiliated with the event. But if it was for a training bomb for a detection dog, why would you utilize I'm not law enforcement, but it sounds weird breaking this down. By the way, this is PBS. I specifically choose an outlet that was not right wing. If you want to get your news and be able to siphon through the BS, best thing to do is read both, right and left. He also said the person, again, was not working or affiliated with the event, which is expected to draw thousands of Trump supporters. The claims were shared widely on X. So it says earlier Wednesday, and other county officials respond swiftly to a knockdown the online claims, which appear to have started with a post from a reporter citing unnamed sources in a law enforcement department. Yeah, we do need an investigation. I agree. So I don't know. At the end of the day, I mean, just to cover my, you know what, and be a little bit egotistical, it seems like there was a bomb. It was just a training bomb that was detected. Now, I don't know if that's true. Here's the problem. Please know where I'm coming from. We still don't have answers to the pipe bombs that were found on January 6th. We don't know why there was a pipe bomb outside where Kamala Harris was, the DNC or the RNC. There's 2 pipe bombs. And by the way, the moment they started going into the Capitol, they just all of a sudden found these pipe bombs, both of them that were in different locations, within 15 minutes of each other. We have no idea if those were training bombs either. They went undetected in the same way. So this guy that was sitting in the bushes for 12 hours, in the same way the guy over in Butler, Pennsylvania went undetected, or at least not engaged. I shouldn't say he went undetected. They knew about him. So I guess, and we'll also call it, this also brings to mind the initial reports that a drone was utilized in the second assassination attempt. So many attempts, I can't even keep track anymore. I guess there was no drone. So you're seeing that it's like, do I sit and wait on the story for days and days, or do I report what the news is reporting at the time? I don't know. Makes me want to sit there and wait a little bit longer, because now I don't like being wrong, and I don't want to report stuff to you guys that is false. I think that's not right. Correct, Brad, and why isn't mainstream media covering the story? I don't know. But I appreciate you guys writing the chat and calling me out, or at least giving me the updates. And we said that yesterday, right? I said, hey, you guys, if you see something that I'm covering and you know something different, write in the chat so we can get it correct. You know what I mean? It's all about getting it correct. I don't want to sit there and lie to you guys and push some narrative. Could I have, and this is a great point, right? Integrity. If I could if there's, how do I put this? I'm not going out of my way to push a narrative. I am not going out of my way to sit there and manipulate my audience. I want you guys to have the facts. I want you guys to have the truth and make up your own mind. You don't have to agree with me. I don't care if you agree with me or not, but I want to make sure that we're on track and we know what the hell's going on. So we'll see. I guess it was a training thing, but flesh it out yourselves today after you get off the Bald Brad Show. See what you got there. And if you want, I have an email, folks, thebaldbradshow@gmail.com. Toss me those articles if you want and say, hey, this is what I found. What do you think about this? I think it was Jerry just yesterday sent me an Instagram post through email. So hit me up, folks. Hit me up. Now, what's also interesting is we got 22,000 foreigners are in federal prisons. Well, guess what, you guys? Guess what? Well, you get to pay for their sex changes. Yay! Oh, that's good, isn't it? Yep, they're all eligible for taxpayer-funded gender transitions. But remember Kamala Harris's face when Donald Trump brought this up in the debate, and she's like, oh, Donald, you think that's real? I didn't do that. Right? Her face was like, oh, that's so crazy. This is how ludicrous things are. It's so ludicrous that even the Democrats think it's crazy. And they think it's crazy so much so that they actually don't think it's real. That's the problem, is the Democrats have put themselves in a scenario where they have done so much crazy shit that you would think would be satirical like a decade or two ago. If somebody were to bring it up, you'd laugh about it. You would think it's crazy. You think, yeah, what the hell are you talking about, Like, you're telling me somebody's going to lop off their nuts because they think they're a woman? Like, you would think, oh, that's a little bit crazy, right? In the same way, back in the day, we used to think when you saw a guy on the street before there was like the earpieces for your cell phone and the Bluetooth, you would see a guy like, swing into the skies, right? He's fighting some guy. Oh, fuck you up, Congress. Oh, fuck you up, Congress. Like, right? He's just calling out some no dude that's there. He's schizophrenic, right? He's hearing voices. He's fighting some guy. You go, oh yeah, that guy's crazy. Now you could just sit there and be talking to the skies and fighting somebody. Yeah, he's normal. He doesn't need help. He's normal. So much crazy stuff is taking place that people just think it's crazy and then it's not real. Well, again, this is all due to Kamala Harris. Federal Bureau of Prisons has about 22,000 foreign nationals in its custody. And the Daily Wire has learned it appears that all of these prisoners are eligible for taxpayer-funded gender transitions. I wonder what else they're eligible for that we're paying for. Because remember, we can't even pay for a border wall. Oh, I should rephrase that. We could pay for a border wall, but Democrats don't want to allow it to be built. So we could pay for it. Folks, we're about to spend $1 trillion on illegal immigration. Nobody's covering that. Nobody's covering that. It's about, and I was being generous years ago when I said, this is going to cost us about $250 billion every year that Joe Biden's in office. I'm right. Yeah. Remember, we couldn't get the numbers are so astronomical. We couldn't get $3 billion when Donald Trump was in office. Remember he's sitting there fighting with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi in the Oval Office? That whole clip went viral. Well, we don't have it, Donald. We don't have the money. We can't sit there. It's amazing. I'm gonna get pissed again. It's amazing how all of a sudden we don't have any fucking money for anything. Secret Service, we don't have money. We only have so much money to go around. We can't protect them. You're sending Ukrainians $60 billion. You're sending the Iranians $10 billion. Don't give me this that you don't have the money. Stop sending it to everybody else then and worry about us. Fucking unbelievable. You're damn right I'm cussing now. Because it is. It is. Let's just send everybody our money. Fuck our roads, our bridges, our infrastructure, our veterans, our homeless, our sidewalks are crumbling, our buildings are crumbling. We don't have a border. We allow an invasion to happen. We're subsidizing this. We're subsidizing that. We help the illegal immigrants with their education, their freaking lawyer fees, their food, their housing. I can keep going. And partly we're to blame too, because Republicans are also not having a spine either. They're not having a spine either. So tired of these politicians, man. I'm so tired of these politicians. Now, remember, the rhetoric, though, has to change, you guys. Yeah, the rhetoric, yes, you have to change, except just 2 days after the second assassination attempt on Trump's life, you have MSNBC calling Trump a Nazi already.
But since 6 January, things have changed. Insurrection, I said, now's the time to step up. I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to wait until the jackboots are marching down the street and the brown shirts come rolling out? Our kids get enrolled in Trump Youth? Is that the time to...
You mean like Antifa, which we talk about in our book? We actually, everything, and I think I mean this in all literal sense, I think everything he just listed, I attached to Antifa, who's not Republican or conservative, dude.
Start getting involved, of course, but since...
So did you hear that?
6 January,
Trump,
things have changed. Insurrection, I said, now's the time to step up. I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to wait until the jackboots are marching down the street and the brown shirts come rolling out? Our kids get enrolled in Trump Youth? Is that the Trump Youth? 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 Is that?
Now, I'm not even so sure if Democrats actually even know what Hitler did and all those things. The reason why, and I really do mean that, folks, if you look at the study, it's an astronomical study. I think it's from 18 to 34-year-olds. I could be wrong on the ages. It's upwards of like in the 70% of that age group does not know the Holocaust actually even happened. Yeah, it's a wild statistic. 70% don't know the Holocaust happened. Yeah, it's a pretty wild thing. So first ever study finds that 70% or something like that don't know that actually took place. So here we go. I'll bring it up in real time. Nationally, there is a clear lack of awareness of key historical facts. 63% of all national survey respondents do not know that 6 million Jews were murdered, and 36% thought that 2 million or fewer Jews were killed. If you actually look at it, it's higher than that. It's 70%. Look at this. The state-by-state analysis yielded a particularly disquieting find that nearly 20% of millennials and Gen Z in New York feel that Jews caused the Holocaust. Did you all know about this? Write a Y in chat or an N for no. Y for yes, N for no. Did you guys know about this? Yeah, it's an insane study. And this one's being generous. In what might be considered a disturbing sign of the times, 59% of respondents indicate that they believe something like the Holocaust could happen again. Yeah, because people aren't aware of what already took place. It's insane. And I just pulled this up in real time. Like I said, if you look at a different study, it's 70%. I think it's like 18 to 24-year-olds, or 18 to 24, 18 to 34, something like that. Pretty crazy, man. Pretty freaking crazy. Yep, some of you are writing yes. Yeah, so you guys knew about it. It's not the first time we've talked about or covered it. You also have, speaking of illegal immigrants storming the border, you also have a migrant influencer. We talked about this guy months ago who encouraged migrants to be squatters. Y'all remember that when the squatter things? Yeah, Jeff, we are for real. That is a real thing, my friend. Remember when they were the squatters was kind of like making mainstream news, which is still a problem, especially in the state of California. Well, this guy was telling people, remember on TikTok, to sit there and go and take over. He's telling illegal immigrants to go and take over Americans' homes. Well, he's ordered to be deported, I guess. So migrant influencer who went viral for encouraging illegal border crossers to squat in U.S. homes was ordered deported by immigration judge, but he likely won't be kicked out the country anyways because of diplomatic row. Well, because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden don't want him out. No, he's doing a service to illegal immigrants. Yeah, he's helping them, you guys. That's why they don't want him out. And he's a potential voter probably. So remember, it's okay if you're a felon. You can vote as long as it's Democrat. You can vote, of course. We also have, speaking of transgender surgeries, remember how you had those 22,000 illegals that are possible for getting that surgery? Well, you also have swing state ad campaign targets Kamala over support for transgender surgeries for your children. This is fun. Yep, we knew this was, folks, we used to talk about this a lot like 2.5, 3 years ago. We used to talk about this a lot. Go back to my old videos, right? You can actually surface them or pull them up. We talked a lot about we used to, remember, we were on Project Veritas. Our show was on Project Veritas when James O'Keefe had it, because we were covering it so much that we were one of the people that are actually getting known for exposing this type of stuff. So I used to go on Anthony Brian Logan's podcast and sit there and call in and tell him information that I knew when I used to work up in LA back in the day regarding all the crazy stuff that I was seeing that was happening on campuses or hearing about it. So most people have no idea of the size and scope and money involved in the transgender agenda pushed on our kids. Folks, you have the media, you have the entertainment industry, you have the news outlets, the reporters. I mean, there is millions, if not we can maybe say billions of dollars being spent, I think it is billions, on this whole agenda. Talk about weird. Physically healthy boys and girls are having their genitals and sexual organs destroyed, and Kamala Harris and her Democratic allies in the Senate not only think that's acceptable, but are forcing taxpayers to pay for it. Yo, we live in such weird times, man. I mean, can you imagine somebody bringing this up even 20 years ago? You'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you want to cut off your genitals? Like, what? Unlike fracking, defunding the police, or securing the border, Kamala Harris has not yet flip-flopped on forcing Americans to pay for medical experiments on children. It is experiments, by the way. It's never happened in human history. We're actually utilizing the last decade to run experiments on our children to see what the long-term effects are on it. This is some, like I said, it's wild and crazy news today. It's bonkers. The Biden administration has worked furiously to invent new regulations to force insurance companies and taxpayers to destroy the bodies of vulnerable children. Whatever happened to just waiting until you're 18 to make your decisions as an adult? I don't think adults should do it, by the way. I just want to be clear. But if you're an adult, it's your life. I'm very liberal on this stuff. Like I said, the LGBTQ community, if that's the route you want to go, if that's what you are, like, go do it's your life. You're an American, like, do what you want. I think it's a little interesting, but it's not my life. I don't think you should cut off your genitals. Maybe seek help first and see if you could walk that avenue and go kind of overcome look, we're all sinful, folks. And I'm not even saying lopping off your genitals is a sin. I'm just saying you're clearly struggling with something. Everybody does. And try to seek help before you make that type of decision, because it's not really one you can go back from. So, but, I'll be called a bigot. Oh, I don't understand. It's like, isn't it kind of understanding that you're telling somebody that you do understand that they're going through something that's obviously not normal and that they should go seek help and you don't want anything destructive to happen to them? Isn't that a pretty empathetic thing to say? That I'm siding with you, like, hey, I clearly understand you're going through something. I clearly understand and I see it. And I want you to get that attention. I just don't want you to just automatically go to getting your genitals lopped off and then you realize later that maybe it wasn't the right decision because it's happened. So I think that's pretty empathetic. And again, I'm not targeting trans people. I'm not going after trans people. I think everybody struggles again with something. It can only be so clear. Do I think it's a little odd? Of course, but I'm sure, look, there's a lot of people do odd and weird things. I'll tell you something that's not odd and weird is taking care of your pets, folks. Taking care of your pets. If you have a dog, we've all been there. Our pup goes from full on energy to sick and miserable in an instant. I grew up with animals. I probably had like 12 dogs in my life. And at the worst times, then we're calling vets in the middle of the night or on weekends or taking them to like a veterinarian or a hospital, trying to find a clinic that will take us in. There's actually animal hospitals that you can take your dogs to as well. It's a terrible way to manage your dog's health, not to mention your stress levels and your monthly budget. I mean, I had a dog go through chemo. I think it was like $20,000 or something like that. That's why people are getting the pet emergency kit by Positive. I love the way they put that. Positive, like, meow. It contains critical medications and supplies that can only keep you out of the veterinary office, but may even save your dog's life. Their kits contain critical medications like activated charcoal, septic powder, and more. It might save your dog's life. Head over to positive.com and use code STUDIO to get that 15% off, folks. That 15% off your pet emergency kit. Again, that's positive.com, Positive.com. Use promo code STUDIO, folks. It would be greatly appreciated. You do help keep the lights on here. I don't get any kickback from that. We obviously get an ad read, monetary. They pay us for that, but there's no commission or anything like that. So again, all the ad reads I don't get commission for. I just want to be clear on that. I'll let you know if I do, if I'm allowed to. I don't know, but I would imagine why not. But no commission on any of the ad reads, just so you're clear. Some people asked is why. Like, oh, does Bald Brad get a kickback when you buy $17.75 coffee? No, I do not. Now, what's also weird is, well, we also are talking about children once again. Democrats move to loosen. I'm going to keep it together on this one. Let me collect my thoughts. Democrats move to loosen oversight of sponsors that take and often lose migrant children. Senate Democrats on Tuesday doubled down on a program that has lost at least 85,000 children, specifically unaccompanied alien children, proposing to move children to the sponsors even more quickly and with even less oversight. You have Democrats introducing the Children's Safe Welcome Act of 2024. Notice they obfuscate the fact that they're illegal children, illegal alien children. I know it's not fun to call them that, but that's what it is. Which would require that within 7 days of receiving an application from an adult who wants to sponsor a child, just anybody that wants to sponsor them, who crosses the border without parents, well, why would they do that? Because they don't care about their children is why. To put them on that dangerous trek across the desert, which a lot of children die. They put their children in scenarios where they're getting raped and murdered and stuff like that. The Department of Health and Human Services must make its decision about whether to release the child to that person. Agency whistleblowers say that timeline does not give enough time for any responsible background check. Well, they're not doing background checks at the border anyway, so what does it matter? Well, it matters a lot because these people, these children, these young individuals are being sold off into sex trafficking and forced labor. That's why, Democrats, but you can't get it through your head, can you? You can't get it through your head. And results in children being sent to live with labor and sex traffickers and gang members. Oh, well, they got a home. Oh, good. Oh, really? They're being sold off for like $10,000 to some dude that's in the Middle East. Oh, what's the big deal? No problem. On Tuesday, Chuck Grassley said the emphasis on sending migrants to live with sponsors as quickly as possible has led to the systematic abuse and disappearance of migrant children. Yeah, just 320,000 of them. This is being generous, by the way. This one right here, this piece, that 85,000 is generous. Oh, that's beyond generous. And speaking of generous, Big Wee with the $5. Thank you so much, man. He says, I read your book, Trojan Horse, 3 times now. Really? Damn. Well, give us a review over at Amazon if you haven't already, Big Wee. Greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Hopefully it wasn't a struggle of a read. Hopefully you did enjoy it. I'd imagine you did if you read it 3 times now. Thanks, man. I greatly appreciate it. Hey, Big Wee, let us know over at Rumble what was your favorite chapter. Let me know, please. I actually am very curious. I greatly appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be having Rumble open right now because I want to see. So, again, it's about 320,000 children. Look at systematic and disappearance of migrant children and retaliation against employees who tried to block children from going to men who sexualize them, MS-13 gang-affiliated sponsors, and also sponsors who were mass applying for children. God, why would they be mass applying for children? Cha-ching, cha-ching. Democrats became obsessed with avoiding the temporary holding facilities, which were common under Barack Obama, and at all costs after calling them cages under Donald Trump. So there you go, folks. Democrats wanting to trans your kids. It's weird that they're going after children, right? They want to trans your kids. They want to lop off their genitals. They want to give them hormone enhancements, puberty blockers, which basically aren't able to have boys reproduce later on in life. It sits there and hinders the growth of a lot of little boys and little girls. They also want to sit there and allow children to be sold off into sex trafficking and forced labor. Now, folks, the trafficking of human beings is like insanely big right now. And I can't believe that more people aren't talking about it. And maybe I should sit there and talk about it more on my end and not be a hypocrite. But I feel like we have, right? I mean, how many times have we talked about and screamed into the microphone that there's children being sold off into labor and sex trafficking and human trafficking? And Democrats they're like, oh, we want more of it. But then they'll sit there and tell you, oh, we hate it. It's terrible. Oh my God, it's evil. Then why are you loosening restrictions? You want to know why? Because there's so many people clogging up the border. There's so many children that are pouring across the border. They don't know what to do with them. So rather than actually building a border wall and figuring the border out, this is how they solve things. Hey, just go to a gang member. It's okay if you get raped. Go along. Shoo, shoo, shoo. No, nobody will know about you. Nobody will know your name. But shoo, shoo. Go on, go on. You know, that's why you find those bracelets. It is evil, Dizzy. Oh, it's sick. Yeah, correct. It's sick and it's fucking wild. It's sick. It's evil. There, Pat's saying the same thing over on YouTube. Yes. I'm dumbfounded. Yeah, Q1969. The Democrat leaders are so sick. Yes. Yes. Oh, Kamala. Again, it's just you bring all this stuff up to Democrats. They don't know how to answer it. And I'm not talking about politicians. I'm not talking about these idiots that want to go on TikTok and YouTube all the time and just debate to win the argument. That's why I don't do debates. Could I sit there and email somebody, why don't you come on my show? I'll debate you about a topic. Because it's not about them having an actual conversation about solving the issue. Their conversation, they'll say anything and do anything just to win the conversation. And I don't even call a conversation debate. Debate's all about winning. That's why I don't like debates. I like watching them because I find them fascinating. But at some point, it gets a little annoying because you could tell they're not being genuine and they're not being honest with themselves. And it's not a conversation about, let's see who's actually coming to the truth. It's a conversation about, I'll say anything and do anything, regardless of whether it goes against my viewpoint or not, to sit there and win the debate. Destiny's like that, Steven. He's like that. I think he's a very smart guy, and I listen to him because he has some sprinklings of actual knowledge that I could pull from. But I could sit there and decipher what actually goes against a viewpoint or not. He just does it to win, and that's what kind of pushes me a little over the edge on some things sometimes. And by over the edge, I mean I don't want to watch it anymore. It's not that I get pissed off about it, but this I do. This bugs the hell out of me when you sit there and do this type of stuff. And nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody. I mean, that's why I keep bringing it up and beating like a dead horse. If you notice, a lot of our articles kind of talk about the same thing, right? Illegal immigration, the children, the sex trafficking, the transgender stuff, leave our children alone, the education system, how corrupt the Democrat Party is, because it's an ongoing thing. And I'm not going to let it up until we figure it out. I always appreciate you guys coming and joining in and taking care of us over here. Big Weave, thank you again for the $5, man. It's always greatly appreciated. And even everybody else who's donated in the past, or if you're a member, always appreciate your support, you guys. Look, Commonomics is driving this country into the ground, and you giving your hard-earned money is always appreciative. And please know, it doesn't go unnoticed. If you want to use the Bald Brad website, we do have a donation tab up there at the top right. And again, I'm just bringing this up because Neil's brought it up in the past and others. Greatly appreciated. You can make a difference here, and you could actually just make it a one-time donation, or you could do monthly or weekly. And we get like 98% of this, where like YouTube takes like 30 or 35% of the cut. So most of that money, right? If you give $10, then I get $7 on YouTube. YouTube takes $3. Here, I would get $9.80 or something like that if you do $10. But please don't feel like you have to. That's not, or you can do a custom amount. I just want you to know, please don't feel like you have to do this, or I'm egging you on to do it. It's just easier to reach a broader audience than answer a bunch of emails and type it out. So always greatly appreciate you guys. Pray for this country. Pray for those that have been sold off into forced labor and sex trafficking. Just prayer. The power of prayer is really effective, you guys. And even if you're not a believer, you know what? It's a prayer that will hopefully still be offered up, and hopefully the Lord himself will hear it and still act upon it. So with that being said, folks, I hope you have a blessed day. We'll be back here tomorrow. Our Friday's episodes are even more wonky because we kind of do all the other news that we didn't get to throughout the week. And that's really wild and bonkers. So folks, as always, thank you so much for your kind love, support. I'll see you tomorrow, Patriots. Have a blessed day.